Now I want both of you to take out your own phones and hold them in the air. Hold them between 2 fingers, if you would.
No, you listen to me. I want to talk to Sampson before I do anything. There was a pause and a shuffle. Then I heard a muted,
"It's for you."
Then Sampson's voice, clear and unmistakable. "Alex, don't do it." "John," I called out. But Belle was already back on the line.
"Your phones? In the air. Both of them."
I swiveled around and scanned the garage. Someone was definitely watching us, relaying information, but I didn't see anyone anywhere.
"Now or never, Dr. Cross. You don't want me hanging up on you. Trust me, you don't."
"Bree, get out your phone. Hold it in the air." He had us put the cell phones behind the back wheels of my car and then get in.
"Now back up. Over the phones. Then leave the garage and take a right turn."
"Where are we going?"
"No questions, just go. Hurry, time's running out."
I heard the crunch of our cells as I backed out over them. "Fuck," Bree muttered. She wasn't angry about the phones, just that we were following his orders. We had barely hit the street when Bree scribbled something and held it down low for me to see. Black Highlander, DC plates, female, 2 cars behind. I saw the Highlander and the woman driver in my rearview mirror. Long, dark hair, sunglasses. I couldn't tell much of anything else. "Who's the tail, Belle? Is that my friend from Baltimore?" There was a sickening thud on the line, and I heard Sampson moan loudly.
"That's what questions get you from here on out. Got any more?"
I didn't answer.
"Good thinking. Now take a left at the next light and keep your fucking mouth shut unless I ask for your opinion."
Chapter 115. I would have probably suspended another officer for doing what we were doing, but with Sampson's life in jeopardy, I didn't see how there was any choice. For the next few minutes, Bree and I stuck to hand gestures and notes, while DCAK barked out directions. The Black Highlander with the woman driver stayed right with us, never getting more than a couple of car lengths behind. Bree scribbled, "Idea where we're going?" I shook my head, just enough for her to see. "How do we turn this thing around?" Another subtle head shake. "Weapons in the car?" I sighed, then shook my head again. We had traveled to Montana without them. Maybe Tyler Bell guessed as much. There had been no mention of them when we ditched our phones. He navigated us back into Washington, eventually onto Massachusetts Avenue and then 7th Street, moving away from Capitol Hill. My mind raced in a dozen different directions during the stretches of silence. Where the hell was he taking us? And what would happen when we got there? 7th turned into Georgia. Then we passed the Howard University campus and kept going. Why this part of town? Why was any of this happening? Somewhere between Columbia Heights and Petworth, we came into a low-grade retail stretch with half a dozen fast food and car repair joints. Bell told me to slow down now and pay close attention. Trust me, I'm paying attention. I watched the numbers as we passed a Jamaican patty stand, a nail salon, a gas station, a pawn shop, and then one of several empty storefronts.
"Number 3337,
Bell said.
See it?"
I sure did. An orange rented banner was pasted over the original "For Rent" sign in the window.
"Take the next alleyway and come into the building from the side. No cheap tricks. I can't promise the same."
Chapter 116. I pulled down a narrow single lane to a small parking area in back, with room for maybe 3 vehicles. When we got out, I saw the Black Highlander blocking the alley entrance, or exit, depending on how you looked at it. The driver watched us from behind the wheel, looking both mysterious and threatening. I was almost certain it was a woman, but so far not everything had been as it seemed. Bree and I moved toward the building. We found a battered green steel door propped open with half of a brick. Inside there was an enclosed cement stairwell. It felt a little like a Saw movie set.
Go down the stairs,
said Tyler Bell.
Go ahead. Bite the bullet.
An oddly brilliant strip of light showed under another door at the bottom of the stairs. Bell, what's down there? Where are we going?
Close the door behind you when you come in. And do come in. Or else there will be a terrible accident momentarily, involving your friend.
Bree and I looked at each other. This was the time to turn around, if any. And that wasn't going to happen. At least not for me. We don't have any choice, Bree said. Let's go. We get any chance, we take it. I went down first. The walls were rough cinder block with no rail. There was a vague sulfuric smell that I could taste on the tip of my tongue. When we got to the door at the bottom of the stairs, I grabbed a rusted knob that wouldn't turn. So I pushed instead, and it swung open. And then, a spotlight hit my eyes. I focused as best I could and saw it was one of several on tripod stands, illuminating every corner of an otherwise dank basement.
There's your boy.
Sampson sat tied to a chair with his hands behind his back. A band of silver tape was stretched over his eyes. When he turned toward the sound of the door, I saw the terrible gash on his face, still wet. What was worse, his blood had been used to smear the letters DCAK on the wall behind him. Lots of blood. Two empty chairs stood to Sampson's right, each with a coil of rope on the floor next to it. Somebody, presumably Tyler Bell, stood off to one side. He had a video camera in one hand and a gun in the other, both pointed our way. His face was still in shadows, always the mystery man to this point. But that was going to end now, wasn't it? A cable snaked out of the camera over to a sawhorse and a plank table full of equipment. I spotted a laptop open to Bell's familiar homepage, but with a difference. Where he'd once had an image of a static-filled television, now there was a live shot of Bree and me standing there looking at ourselves. Bell's head slowly moved from the camera viewfinder up to our faces. When he saw me watching him, he said,
Welcome to my studio.
Chapter 117. Sampson, you okay? I asked. John? John? Finally, he gave a weak nod. Couldn't be better. He didn't look it. He was hunched over severely, with dark stains down his gray t-shirt and sweats.
Well said, Detective Sampson. It would appear that I'm not the only skilled thespian in the room.
That's my Glock. Bree was staring at the gun clenched in Bell's hand.
Yes, it is. Very good. Don't you remember when Neil Stevens took it from you? Yes, that was me. What can I say? I can act.
I remember everything, asshole. You're not as good as you think you are.
Perhaps, but apparently that still makes me good enough, doesn't it?
What is all this? I asked, trying to slow things down, trying to slow Bell down anyway, and maybe even get a few answers from him.
Oh, I'm sure you figured out most of it, Dr. Cross. You're smart enough for that, aren't you?
So if I said 3337 Georgia Avenue, I tried.
You'd be wasting your breath, of course. No one is watching. Yet.
Bell dipped his eyes toward the camera and back.
Live audio would have been nice, but then again, I'm not an idiot. Detective Stone, I want you face down, hands out at your side. Cross?
He motioned toward the center chair.
Have a seat. Take a load off.
What about... He fired once into the wall just over Sampson's shoulder.
I said, sit down.
I did as I was told. And then footsteps sounded overhead. They steadily crossed the floor and thumped down some nearby stairs. Not the ones Bree and I had used, though. Another entrance. Tyler Bell kept the camera aimed at me without actually looking around. I guessed that he wanted my reaction to this on film. A door at the far end of the room opened. I couldn't see who was there. Not yet.
What took you so long?
Bell said.
Sorry, had to lock up. Not the best of neighborhoods.
Then I realized who it was. The woman I knew as Sandy Quinlan was just walking into the room. She'd taken off the dark wig and glasses she'd worn while she was driving the Highlander. Now she looked the way I was used to seeing her. Except for her eyes. They played over me as though we'd never met. And with the shock of seeing Sandy Quinlan here came another rush of clarity, and of grudging respect for DCAK. Anthony, I said. Not a question. A statement of fact. I didn't fool myself into thinking that was his real name, but it was how I knew him. As I stared at DCAK, I could see the resemblance now. He was pretty good with makeup, and he was a talented actor. I had to give him that much. He took a little bow.
I am good, aren't I? Stage acting, for the most part. New York, San Francisco, New Haven, London. In many ways, I'm proudest of the way I played Anthony, and played you as well, Dr. Cross. As they say, in your face.
So, are you Tyler Bell? I asked next. He seemed a little surprised by the question. Or was he acting again?
Didn't you hear? The poor bastard went crazy. Came to D.C. and murdered a shitload of people, including the detective who killed his brother. Then he just disappeared off the face of the earth. No one ever saw him again.
Bree asked, "Did you kill Bell in Montana?"
Tell you what,
He wagged the Glock in little circles.
let's get you ready for the broadcast first. Then I'll show you what happened to Tyler Bell. How's that for cooperating fully with the police?
Sandy was standing next to him now. He kissed her, making a show of it, and gave her the gun. Then he transferred the camera to her as well. Now what? She said,
Smile, or whatever. Just be natural. Be yourselves.
She bent her knees for a steadier shot and zoomed out until the image on the laptop included Samson, Bree, and me.
Okay, I'm set here. Whenever you're ready, we can begin. We're going live now. We're rolling. And action.
Chapter 118. Anthony DeMeo, that was the only name I had for him, slowly walked around behind me, which was not exactly where I wanted him to be.
Out of sight, out of mind? Or maybe not, Doc.
Suddenly, the rope dug into my wrists as he tightened it, then knotted it off. Next, he anchored it to an eye hook or grommet, something in the floor that I couldn't see. The contraption kept me from standing, though, or even sitting up straight. That's why Samson's frame was so hunched over, I realized. And it was all playing out in real time on the laptop across from me. I wondered how many people were watching this right now, and I hoped Nana and the kids weren't among them. When he finished with me and then Bree, he retrieved his gun from Sandy and took his place at the center of the floor. He tucked the Glock in the rear of his waistband, then went into a half squat, hands clasped behind him like they were tied the same as ours. What the hell was he doing now? His face screwed into a terrible grimace. Then he sobbed loudly. He continued to sob. He was acting, I realized with a start, playing another part. Who was he this time? He was definitely playing someone other than himself, pretending to sob, to be sad.
Why are you doing this to me? I don't understand. Please, just let me get up. I won't run away. I promise. Please, man, I'm begging you. I'm begging you.
Suddenly the gun came out from behind Anthony's back, and he pointed it at his own head. Now he spoke as DCAK.
You want to stay alive, Mr. Bell? You just keep on talking for me. Let me hear you say A-E-I-O-U.
Oh, you.